Metabolic types. Many people first start thinking about good and healthy nutrition when they feel the need to reduce their weight. Added to this is the despair in trying to find the right form of nutrition amongst the influx of advice, diets, and new scientific discoveries, and the hope that this time one will be successful in the fight against the pounds. It should also taste good, be easy to manage, and make one feel full. And let's not forget that it's also supposed to be healthy. The sad truth is that approximately 95% of all diets or dietary changes end after a year at the start-up weight, and that one looks enviously at those who can eat anything in any amount and never gain weight. The topic of lucky genetics comes up at this time at the latest. The theory of different metabolic types is not scientifically new, but most people don't know about it. According to this theory, metabolic typification separates the population into groups whose metabolisms react similarly to nutrient combinations, and who show the same measurable effects to health and the ability to perform. Each of these groups is assigned a form of nutrition that will guarantee health and optimal weight on a long-term basis. One group might, for example, burn carbohydrates better than another, but will react negatively to consumption of increased proteins or fat. There are 3 metabolic types that we will examine more closely. The endomorphic type has a strong corpulent body stature and strong bones, and due to a slow metabolism and a low basal metabolism, quickly turns carbohydrates into fat and mass, and exhibits blood sugar fluctuations upon the consumption of carbohydrates. On the other hand, this type will usually react tolerantly to the consumption of protein and fat, the eating of meat, eggs, cheese, fish and nuts, which means that proteins and fat are being optimally processed. The mesomorphic type is more athletic and possibly endowed with corpulence in the stomach and hip area. This type has a fast metabolism and processes carbohydrates more efficiently than the endomorphic type. Nonetheless, a too high amount of carbohydrates for this type will lead to fat storage. The ectomorphic type, to some extent very wiry and with a low amount of fat tissue, profits from a fast metabolism and a high use of energy. In comparison to the other 2 types, it is difficult for this type to gain weight in the form of muscle mass. Carbohydrates are optimally processed and are burned instead of being stored. In contrast, high consumption of fat and protein will lead to weight gain. The groups are thus separated into carbohydrate-tolerant people and carbohydrate-intolerant people. The carbohydrate-intolerant people are oftentimes characterized through corpulence and the resulting illnesses such as being overweight, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol levels. It is assumed that this metabolic type has not yet adjusted to the current diet, which is heavy in carbohydrates. Due to a slow metabolism, this endomorphic type reacts to fast nutrients such as carbohydrates that make one feel full very quickly, but that are also quickly metabolized and lead to more hunger, causing disharmony and conversion to fat. Fat and foods rich in protein react more slowly. They make one feel full later, but this feeling lasts for a longer time. Just think about the fat Christmas goose. When these slow nutrients come into contact with the slow metabolic type, it's a harmonious relationship. The problem of fat storage is avoided. The carbohydrate-tolerant type rarely becomes overweight, regardless of the amount of carbohydrates consumed. This fast metabolism reacts harmoniously to fast carbohydrates. This means that the slower the metabolism and the dispersal of fat over the entire body, the more the consumption of carbohydrates should be minimized. If we know what our metabolic type is, we also know what we can eat and which things should not appear in our dietary plan too often. The endomorphic type mainly uses animal-based products in combination with cooked and raw vegetables, salads, and nuts. Fruit as well as wholemeal products should be found in 1 or 2 meals each day, ideally at breakfast or during the course of the morning. The medium mesomorphic type uses carbohydrates such as fruit, wholemeal products, rice and potatoes up to lunchtime, but should eat less carbohydrates during the afternoon and evening. Recommended is once again cooked and raw vegetables, salad, nuts as well as low-fat animal-based products. The last metabolic type can eat more carbohydrates, but as with the other 2 groups, should keep an eye on its quality. All in all, our nutritional needs are not all that complicated. When one is supported and instructed, as Webstar does, then that piece of chocolate should no longer be a problem. Webstar, the nutrition and fitness program from Wellstar, combines and works with these guidelines of metabolic typification, and thus makes it easy for everyone to reach and maintain their wished-for weight without feeling hungry and with a lot of enjoyment.